Walt Disney was the fourth of 5 children. He was born the child of Elias and Flora Disney in Hermosa, Chicago, Illinois. Around the age of 5, Walt and his family moved to Maryland, Missouri, where Walt worked on a farm. They stayed there for about 5 years, but they had to move when Elias got sick and made it impossible to work on a farm. They moved to Kansas City, and Walt and his brother Roy got a newspaper route and worked hard to make money. In 7th grade, Walt moved back to Chicago with his parents. He didn't like school very much, but enjoyed drawing cartoons for the school newspaper. When he was 16, he wanted to join the army while World War I was going on, but he had to at least be 18. He heard about a Red Cross unit who was accepting 17-year-olds, and he figured that he could manage that. After his mom had signed his passport application, he did a little forgery and changed his birth year, so he became 17. He later went to France and drove an ambulance. He started smoking and developed a lifelong addiction to it. Over a year, he left France and went back to Kansas City to pursue his dream to become an artist. Most of his jobs didn't do much until he went to Kansas City Film and Ad Services, where he met Iwerks. He officially made a studio called Laughograms when he was 20 years old. He started making cartoons called Alice in the Wonderland. But halfway through the production, he filed bankruptcy and lost Laughogram Studios. He had to sell his movie camera and start all over. He journeyed on through and headed for Hollywood. When he got there, he persuaded his uncle to be able to turn his garage into an art and cartoon studio. He sent the rest of the Alice in the Wonderland films to the cartoon distributor Margaret Winkler. Margaret sent a telegram back saying she was in. Walt went to his brother Roy and told him he had a cartoon distributor, and Roy left the hospital, and that is how the Disney Brothers Studio was formed. Later, he called an old friend, Iwerks, to come and help them. After this, he met a nice young lady named Lillian and decided to marry her. Margaret then got married, and her husband Charles Mintz started to run the business. He told the Walt brothers to move on with the Alice cartoons, and that's how they came up with Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. It did well, so Universal Pictures distributed the films. This was Walt's first ever time a major distribution company sent out these films. These films were being shown in major movie theaters everywhere. They put a down payment on a nearby place for a new studio. Both Roy and Walt got homes near this new studio. Everything was going fine when Universal sent a letter saying he needed to renew the contract for Oswald the Rabbit. Walt boarded the train to New York. When they got there, Mintz told them that they had sold away Walt's entire staff except for Iwerks, and they were taking Oswald the Rabbit. On the way back, he thought he would make a new character named Mortimer Mouse, and then Lillian said, "How about Mickey?" He went to Iwerks and told him his idea, and Iwerks started to animate the character. He struck a deal with a person named Pat Powers to get the necessary sound equipment and distribute the films. What was Mickey's original voice? Because he could not find an actor that sounded right.
Oh, it's you, huh?
Yeah, it's me, I guess.
All alone, without your doll.
Yeah, all alone.
Mickey made Walt famous, but he still wanted to explore other ideas. So he created a little thing called Silly Symphonies and made a film called Skeleton Dance. Many watched it way more than once, and it became a huge hit. After that, Roy started to suspect that Pat Powers was trying to take over Disney. Pat, believing Iwerks was the key to their success, told Iwerks to leave, and he did. Then, a little while later, Roy's wife Edna gave birth to a baby boy, starting their family. 2 years later, Walt started to make another film called The Flowers and Trees, and started out as to be a black and white film. Then he announced to his brother Roy that they were going to reshoot this film, but in color for the first time, which almost doubled the cost. The flowers and trees were reshot and took the silly symphonies to new heights. A year later, Lillian told Walt that she was pregnant and Diane Miller Disney was born. They moved to a new nice home. Then Walt decided that he wanted to break out of cartoon shorts. He started to tell his staff about his ideas for a new film called Snow White. He started to want another child, but doctors said that they shouldn't. Walt decided to adopt another child. That's how they got Sharon May Disney. After that, he again started to make Snow White. When they were done, they had used so much money, he almost went broke for a second time. But it did not matter because it was a big hit and Walt and Roy could pay off the entire film. He got a special Academy Award made up of 1 tall and 7 small figures. On New Year's Eve, the entire family came to California to celebrate Walt's parents' 50th anniversary. When his parents came to California, Walt bought his parents a house. But there was a problem with the house. The gas furnace was broken, and when Walt's dad Elias woke up, he found Flora on the ground with smoke everywhere. Elias survived, but Flora did not. Walt then started to make a new studio so he could make new films. They released many well-known films such as Fantasia, Bambi, and Pinocchio. Then German dictator Adolf Hitler invaded Poland, plunging Europe into the Second World War. Neither Fantasia nor Pinocchio duplicated the success of Snow White because the war cut off about 40% of his revenue of overseas markets. Since that, the Disney brothers were now $4 million in debt. Walt's staff started to go on strike. Walt was then asked to go and make films of Latin America. While he was there, the strike was solved, but then he received a cable from Roy saying that their father had died. When he got back, they started working on a film called Dumbo. But Pearl Harbor got bombed, and Walt and his staff had to move out of the studio. He was going through a lot of stress and had to let some people go. The brothers decided they wanted to move to live action films. After World War II was over, Great Britain and other countries would not allow movie directors to make money out of the country and take it to their country. Walt made a lot of money in England, but the money had to stay there. So they made a well-known film called Treasure Island in England to make more money. One day, Walt was with his 2 daughters and they were on the merry-go-round, and he thought there should be some place where children and parents could have fun together. He decided he wanted to build a park, but did not have enough money. Then Roy struck a deal with an ABC that said if ABC got 35% stake on Disneyland, the company will give them an investment of $500,000. Walt used a lot of things that he learned about making films and made the amusement park feel real. Walt and his wife celebrated their 30th anniversary day before the grand opening of Disneyland. When it opened, it was a huge hit and everyone loved it. While films were not what he focused on so much anymore, he remembered a story he read to Diane called Mary Poppins. He called Miss Travers and they got along very well because when they were done meeting, she wanted to discuss how the movie would go. He started to make the movie and liked the idea of songs in it. Mary Poppins went on to win 13 award nominations. 5 of them became Oscar wins. The film made almost $44 million in the box office. Then one morning, he was at the doctor's when they got news that Walt was very sick from smoking. The doctor said he had at least 6 months to 2 years to live. Then, 10 days after his 65th birthday, Walt died.